Everybody. Just want to give you some good news. Looks like we're heading for some greener pastures and certainly moving into next year. So there's just wanted to give you some uplifting news, and I think this is good information for you guys to have. So I'm just going to let Barry Habib, a guy who I spend a lot of money to get his information. He's won the Crystal Ball Award for the last 3 years for predicting mortgage-backed securities. This is where I get my information from, and I figured I would share this with you because I think you guys will be interested in seeing this. So here we go.
November 10th. It's a date we've had circled on the calendar for months, and we've talked to you about it for months. And as it turns out, we got the CPI report we wanted, and it's a lovely day. Just one to and I know it's going to be almost like a Christmas gift in 31 basis points, but we kind of knew that a good day was coming. We've been waiting for November 10th. And yeah, you could say it's almost like a Christmas gift here to see this wonderful green on the chart, 136 basis points to the plus side.
Currently at 167.
To what we thought was going to happen with CPI. As you know, we've talked about this many times with you. And gosh, I've given countless webinars, talks, and live events on waiting for this day because we thought that we finally start to see the impact of all these Fed hikes, supply chain easing, and inflation numbers starting to come down. Then big one was the comparisons. Now let's review this and let's break it down because we got a CPI number today that came in just wonderfully for the bond market. Because remember, inflation is that's the arch enemy of interest rates, mortgage bonds, because it robs, it erodes the buying power of a fixed payment over time. So inflation is going to drive mortgage rates. So let's take a look here. We're going to break this down on a chart for you. So yeah, CPI, October 22, we got that today. This is the drop we told you was coming. Let's break down the numbers first. So the headline number was up 0.4%, and the year over year did indeed drop from 8.2 to 7.7. But the all important core rate, that's the one that the Fed's most concerned with, because it takes away food and energy, which the Fed does not have influence over. That was up only 0.3%, and that caused the year over year number to drop from 6.6 to 6.3. Now, there were really drops just about everywhere. Just about everywhere, this report showed declines, except for shelter. Now, that's a really good thing because shelter is extraordinarily lagging. We've talked with you about this in the past. The way that it works is shelter really lags. But when we break down shelter, which we do, and nobody's done this, by the way. If you look, no one's talking about this number. And after we show you this stuff, it'll get out there and people will copy it and whatnot like they always do. But here's what happened. Shelter was up 0.8% for the month. Okay, that's pretty stiff, right? And this was the big driver because in core CPI, it's 39.3%. So even with shelter being up 0.8%, at almost 40% of the weighting, we still were only up 0.3. So everything else was really down, right? But hold on a second. Rents were up 0.7. And then the big one here, owner's equivalent rent, which is like 3 to 1 compared to rent, that was up 0.6. So how in the world is this up 0.8? How? Well, here's why. It's because of something called lodging away from home. And it was crazy. It was up 4.9% for October. Had it not been for this, we would have gotten an even lower CPI print by another 10. This would have been up 0.2%, and this would be 6.2 instead of 6.6. And with a 0.2% number, which it should have been, we would have a real, we're having a celebration, but it would be even better than what we've got right now. But I want to show you, we call it crazy, right? Here's why we call it crazy. And again, no one does this, team.
Hang in there through this data because there's some really interesting stuff.
We're going to be on the cutting edge because nobody's talked about this. Look at this chart for lodging away from home. I mean, heck, if a cardiologist saw this, they'd be like, let's get you to the hospital. This is crazy. Look at how wildly this number swings. And here's where we are for October of 2022. If it were down here, which we were just a few months ago, you would have had like flat CPI month over month, or maybe up only 1/10. But if it were flat here, as I mentioned to you, that CPI number would have been much better. So this is the key for us here, is that this was a crazy print. So it's got to be very, very encouraging that even with this craziness and this logic, which can have wild swings, as you can see, we still came in with a favorable number. And that's what we are been hoping for. Now, when we take a look, I'm going to continue to show you this because let's take a look at a broader view now. So when we take a look at what to expect going forward, here's why we were so happy about getting to November 10th. And when we told you that our whole world's going to change and rates are going to be better next year and coming down, here's why. We've shown you this so many times, and boy, has this come to fruition. Again, nobody does this stuff. We're the only ones who talk about this. Remember in the spring when we told you it's going to be a brutal summer? It's because the 2021 inflation numbers were so low and the 2022 numbers that replaced it were higher. But then we said when we get to November 10th, we get October 2022 to replace October 2021. And the numbers that we see here that will begin to be replaced are elevated numbers. And with all of the Fed hikes, this is what the Fed hikes do. Is Fed hikes slow things down, cool things off, cool inflation. So Fed hikes help mortgage rates. It helps kill inflation.
So one of the things that you guys can look at is this is not just a one, 1 week or 1 day trend or 1 month. The expectation is that for the next few months, we're going to continue to see numbers down in the 0.3, it's actually 6.3, but they're just showing the difference here. Year over year, we'll probably have a little bit of a blip in March where we see rates go up, but then you'll see it's going to continue to go up with inflation. And as those numbers get replaced, we should see rates continue to stay low all through next year. So this is good information to share with your clients.
When we see this eventually corral inflation like we're starting to see here in October, and remember, it would be lower if it wasn't for that stupid lodging away from home craziness, it would even be a lower number here. Well, it replaces 0.6, and that's why we went from 6.6 to 6.3, and that's why you have this celebration bond market. But hey, look at what's ahead. Elevated numbers. We should continue to get lower numbers. In January, the shelter costs will start to come down. That's where you get over that peak, and you'll start to see an acceleration. So we should start to see some really good numbers here, team. It is not out of the question in the first half of the year to see rates in that 5% arena, maybe a little bit above, maybe a little bit below it, but good times are ahead, folks. So I want you to stay optimistic out there. Now, we did get some other news, and Jake, please tell us about that, because that also shows some recessionary indicators.
Yeah, today we got initial jobless claims, and it was up.
Let's remember.
Long story short, we're probably moving into a recessionary period. This is one more thing to pay attention to.
All of us at MBS Highway, we truly thank you for your service. Let's take a quick look at the charts here. And it's really nice to see the charts like this, up 133 basis points. It's great to see that 10-year treasury.
Like I said earlier, currently we're up to about 161 on 30-year securities.
Hey, 390. All right, so what does this mean on the charts? Well, we've broken above the 25-day convincingly. We're making a run at the 50. I don't know if we've got the juice to power through this, okay? So we might see some pullback later. So listen, don't be surprised. You're going to get a great rate sheet, but then maybe there could be some profit taking that happens. As you just heard, the 30-year bond auction at 1 p.m., either that'll help push things a little bit to the plus side, or it could be a reason to kind of pull back. So let's make sure we watch that around 1 p.m. Usually the results come out about 7 or 8 minutes after that. So there could be some volatility at Eastern time. The 10-year treasury, this is just good news. Look at this break here. And the even better news is there is more room to the downside to about 377, 378. It's a moving target. So around that range, we could see some improvement here. So very encouraging. Look, it just sure does feel good to have told you about this date for months, and we get what we were thinking we get. The methodology, our modeling totally worked. And what our modeling is also telling you folks is, listen, I want to just talk to you from the heart for a minute, because I know that it's a scary time for many of you. I know that, right? And my career spanned a very long time here, so I've seen a lot of these things, and I know, because I was an originator, I know what you could be going through. I just want you to know that our modeling is working here. And what our modeling shows is that the housing market, which has really tight inventory, regardless of what anybody says out there, the facts are inventory is tight. And household formations have slowed because people are hibernating. They see some 7% rates. But because of this inflation picture, which drives mortgage rates, we start to get mortgage rates around 5%. Servicing value gets added to the value of mortgages, and they're going to come down.
Basically, what he means by saying servicing values go up is right now investors aren't super excited about rates because they know people are going to refinance. Once rates go down, there's going to be a lot more interest in pulling in loans. So they're going to be taking less profit because they know that the servicing premiums are going to pay out for longer terms.
Faster than the 10-year treasury will, you're going to unleash a slew of buyers into a tight inventory environment. Show your customers, use that 2-1 buy down, use the seller concession tool, and I want you to hang in there and remain optimistic because good times are coming. It's going to be a bumpy road. It's not going to be a straight line down, but over the next several months, as we get into Q1 of next year, especially Q2, things are going to be really good. Don't you dare give up. Don't you dare have an attitude that's a little bit defeatist here because of where we are. I want you to stay optimistic because better times are ahead. You have a great day.
So what this means is you should be talking to your clients right now about getting into a property ASAP. Forget about the rates. They're going to come down. Use the 2-1 buy down. Use the Payne Walker Collective to help explain this stuff to them. We are knowledgeable. We understand the market, I think, a little bit better than most. And as long as we can get some customers off the fence now, it's going to be a better market for them going into next year, where they're not going to have to compete with multiple offers, because as soon as these rates go down, you guys know all these buyers are going to be chopping at the bit to get into properties. You're going to come into a competitive arena as far as making offers. It'd be nicer just to be in a home and then refinance into a lower rate, which we're offering a voucher for a free refinance. Hope this helps you guys. It's definitely positive news, and I'm excited to share it with you. Call me if you need me for anything, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Take care.